One human walked into the arena. The beasts refused to fight. The Colosseum of Zephyria Prime stretched across 3 kilometers of crystalline stone, its towering walls carved from the bones of ancient leviathans. For 800 cycles, it had hosted the galaxy's most brutal spectacle, the trial of flesh, where condemned prisoners faced the universe's deadliest predators in combat to the death. No being had ever survived more than 3 beasts. Today, for the first time in galactic history, a human stood at its center. Commander Sarah Chen adjusted the crude metal spear they had given her, its weight familiar despite its alien construction. Around her, 100,000 spectators from dozens of species filled the arena's tiers. Serpentine naga coiled in their viewing pods, crystalline zerathi refracting light from their angular forms, and massive threnodi whose rumbling voices could shatter stone. All had come to witness what they believed would be humanity's final humiliation. "Citizens of the Galactic Federation," announced Arbiter Kexthal, his forearms spread wide as his voice echoed through neural translators. "Today, we conclude the trial of the human terrorist who dared attack our sacred fleet. Let the trial of flesh commence." The arena floor trembled as the first gate opened with a grinding roar of ancient machinery. Sarah squared her shoulders, muscles tensing as she prepared for whatever nightmare would emerge. The crowd fell silent, anticipating blood. What stepped through the gate defied every expectation. The Mauler of Kepler 442 was a predator that had evolved on a world where death was the only constant. Standing 4 meters tall on 6 muscled legs, its carapace was scarred from countless battles, and its mandibles could crush starship hull plating. Its compound eyes, each the size of a dinner plate, fixed upon Sarah with predatory intelligence. But as it approached, something extraordinary happened. The creature slowed. Its aggressive posture shifted. Those massive eyes studied Sarah with what could only be described as recognition. Then, impossibly, the apex predator of its homeworld lowered its head in what every species in the galaxy understood as submission. The arena erupted in confused murmurs. Arbiter Kexthal's thermal patterns flickered with uncertainty. "Release the second beast," he commanded, his voice betraying the first hints of concern. The Voidstalker emerged from the opposite gate, a nightmare of shadow and fang that existed partially outside normal space-time. It had killed 3 Federation generals and consumed the life force of an entire colony. Its form shifted and writhed as it materialized fully into their dimension. It took one look at Sarah and backed away. The spectators' confusion turned to alarm. In the VIP section, Federation Admiral Theiss leaned forward, her gill slits fluttering with agitation. "This is impossible," she hissed to her aide. "Those creatures know only killing. They cannot be reasoned with." But Sarah understood what the aliens could not. She had spent 3 years studying their database during her imprisonment, learning about every species, every world, every creature they had cataloged. What she discovered had changed everything. The third gate opened to release the Bone Titan of Osiris VII, a creature so massive it required anti-gravity fields to support its weight within the arena. Its roar shattered crystal formations in the upper tiers, and its claws had carved mountains in half. It was the ultimate predator, alpha above all others. It took 3 thunderous steps toward Sarah, then stopped. Its massive head tilted, studying her with eyes like burning stars. Slowly, deliberately, it lay down. The arena fell into stunned silence. Sarah walked forward, her hand extended toward the Bone Titan. As her palm touched its skull, she spoke, words that carried through every neural translator in the Colosseum. "Every creature in this arena comes from a world that humans discovered first." The implications hit the gathered aliens like a shockwave. For millennia, they had believed themselves the galaxy's first spacefaring civilizations. Humanity was supposed to be a young, primitive species that had only recently achieved faster than light. "Travel, impossible," Arbiter Kexthal sputtered. "Our historical records clearly show." "Your records show when you first found these worlds," Sarah interrupted, her voice carrying a weight that silenced the arena. "But humans were already there, on every death world, every impossible planet. Where these creatures evolved, Human explorers arrived first. They lived among these predators, learned from them, earned their respect. She gestured to the three beasts, now arranged around her like loyal guardians. These aren't monsters. They're the companions of the first human colonies, the ones your expansion fleets found and absorbed into your Federation, the ones whose existence you erased from history. Admiral Thys stood abruptly, her skin cycling through colors of distress. The human colonies were primitive settlements, barely advanced beyond stone tools. Sarah smiled, and for the first time since entering the arena, she looked dangerous. We wanted you to think that. While you built your grand fleets and conquered your way across the galaxy, we were learning. Every world you claimed, every species you subjugated, every primitive human settlement you encountered, we were already there, watching, studying, preparing. The Bone Titan rumbled, a sound that wasn't aggression but communication. The Void Stalker's form solidified completely, revealing biomechanical implants that hummed with human technology. The Mauler's carapace split slightly, exposing sensory arrays of clearly human design. The trial of flesh was never meant to execute criminals, Sarah continued, her hand still resting on the Titan's skull. It was meant to reveal truth. And the truth is that humanity has been preparing for this moment for over 1,000 years. In the arena's depths, more gates began to open, not the ones controlled by the Federation, but others, hidden ones that had been sealed for centuries. From these emerged not beasts, but humans. Hundreds of them dressed in the simple clothes of farmers and merchants, the disguises they had worn for generations while living undetected among the Federation's worlds. And with them came the real predators, creatures that had never been catalogued, never been conquered, never been seen by any species except humanity. They moved with the confidence of partners, not the desperation of captives. Every world you inhabit, Sarah said as she walked toward the arena's edge, her three test beasts following like devoted hounds, has had humans on it for decades. Every ship in your fleet has human-influenced technology. Every strategic decision your leaders make is based on intelligence we provided. The arena's force fields flickered and died. Throughout the stadium, disguised humans revealed themselves, among the crowds of aliens, no longer pretending to be conquered primitives or harmless traitors. Arbiter Kexthal's voice was barely a whisper. "What do you want?" Sarah looked up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at her in dawning horror and understanding. "The same thing we've always wanted," she said, "to survive, to thrive, to protect our young. The difference is, we've learned that sometimes the best way to win a war is to let your enemy think they've already won it." The human fleet, previously invisible to Federation sensors, began to decloak in orbit above Zephyria Prime. Their ships were sleek, organic-looking things that moved like living creatures through space, because they were living creatures, bred and trained by humanity over centuries of patient evolution and partnership. "The trial of flesh is over," Sarah announced to the silent arena. "Humanity has been tested by 1,000 worlds and we passed every trial. Now it's time for a new test, one where we judge whether the galaxy is ready for real peace, or if it needs to learn the difference between conquest and cooperation." In the arena where no being had ever survived 3 beasts, one human stood surrounded by 1,000 partners, and the universe learned that sometimes the greatest predators are those patient enough to wait for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. The age of hidden humanity was over. The age of partnership was about to begin.